Columbia, it was sort of a combination of things. One, it's the sort of major I'm most interested in. I mean, the topic of study that I'm most interested in is politics and global affairs. Two, I feel like if you've already majored in politics at Sciences Po, the political science major at Columbia is pretty approachable. So you're transferring a lot of credits, and you're also fairly versed in that kind of thing. So for me, the feeling that I got was that if I'm able to major in politics at Columbia, I can transfer a lot of the credits over from Sciences Po, which gives me time to study other things. So after realizing that I had several free classes left over, that's when I decided to do a minor in English, which is mostly the study of literature and stuff, because that's something that really interests me. So I thought I'd take that opportunity to be able to study something that I really enjoy. And the study of political science at Columbia is also more wide ranging, I think, because simply because it's a bigger university, so you have more topics, you have more classes to choose from. And there are a lot of specific topics that I'm studying at Columbia that aren't that weren't covered at Sciences Po. Like at Columbia, my first semester, we studied the freedom of speech in the US, which is a big topic. And then next semester, I've registered for classes about institutional corruption, about the study of liberalism, that kind of thing. So being at a bigger university, obviously, you're going to have more choice in what you study. But at Sciences Po, I think because they focus on fewer things, their study is more in depth, I'd say.
I'd be really curious to know about your English minor. So what courses did you pick? And of course, being in Columbia, being in New York City, there are so many inspirations, so many authors. There's this whole intellectual vibe to the university, and even sort of international sort of exposure that the city has to offer at large. What were your most sort of interesting classes or activities related to English literature?
Well, really, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's really a fantastic atmosphere to be in, and Columbia's English faculty is really well known. I mean, it's a really excellent group of people. So, in my first year, in my first semester, I took a seminar on W.H. Auden, the poet, taught by a really excellent professor who's also Auden's literary executor. I took a course on basically the literature of emancipation, I guess you could say, by Gayatri Spivak, who's a really important post-colonial scholar. Then in this spring semester, I took the main lecture, like the core lecture of English. And then next semester, I'm hoping, I haven't got the class confirmed yet, but I'm hoping to take a class with Orhan Pamuk, who's one of my favorite writers. So there's a really amazing focus on literature at Columbia because so many of these seminars are really small, like both the Auden and the class taught by Spivak that I was talking about. Both of these seminars were like 12 or 13 people. And these classes you have to apply for. You have to basically convince the professor why you should be in their class, which is a bit annoying. But it was really an amazing experience because you're basically sitting there in every class talking obviously with your fellow students who are super clever, and then with a professor who really knows what they're talking about the subject. So it's something I really enjoy. I mean, the English minor is what I have most fun with, I think, when I'm at college. And you're completely right about New York City. I mean, it's a totally dynamic atmosphere. And if you're studying literature there, then you can go to a talk by Salman Rushdie one week, and then next week someone else is coming to campus, and you have so many amazing writers on the faculty like Orhan Pamuk and Kolam Tubin is teaching there. So it's really an interesting place to be, and I think it's an excellent place to study English.
Continuing to question or rather get to know more about your life in New York City, not just as a student at Columbia, but in terms of exploring your interests. What is the most fascinating? What are the few most fascinating things that you sampled life as a New Yorker?
Oh, it's a great town. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the museums there are so much fun. The food scene there is excellent, and also just because it's such a big city, every excursion into a different part of the city feels like you're taking a holiday to some new place. So obviously, Columbia is in Upper Manhattan. Around there are lots of interesting places, but obviously, a lot of the action is in Lower Manhattan. But that's literally like 20 or 30 minutes on the subway. So it's really well connected. you can go to a different part of the city every weekend. Obviously, try and find the time. But let's say you can go to a different part of the city every weekend, and it feels like you're going to a completely new place. So it's a completely fascinating place to be. I think it's a brilliant city to be a student in.
Wonderful. So where is Aditya Sharma, the student, headed next? You have that erudition of a scholar. So is it academia? Is where you're sort of moving towards doing a master's or PhD program?
I wouldn't probably not a PhD program. I'm kind of considering at the moment a couple of things. I might apply to law school in the US or in the UK, or I might do a master's program in the UK. I'm not sure yet. Looking at a few options now, basically. I mean, going into my senior year, there's a lot of like stuff happening academically. We have to take senior seminars, that kind of thing. So at the moment, I've mostly been focused on planning for those, keeping route open for now, let's say.
Okay, super. And how are you engaged in campus? Are you like taking up opportunities in student organizations, any teaching sort of assignments or things like that?
Yeah, so at the moment, I've got two club commitments on campus. So the first is the Columbia Debate Society, which is really, really fun. You have to, sadly, you have to try out to get on the team because it's like not that big, but it's really, really a fun experience. You go there, you compete against other colleges on the weekends, taking trips all across the country, which is really fun. And then I'm also on the Columbia Political Review, which is a politics magazine that's run completely by undergraduates. So I'm a staff writer there. It's also really, really exciting because you get to write on whatever topic you're interested in, and it's a really professional setup. There are lots of staff. There are lots of different people working on different things, and it's really, really interesting to be in these organizations just because the people you're working with are always so much fun to talk to and are always so interesting. You always learn so much from them. So that's something I'm really interested that I
I
really
think
would encourage.
our listeners would definitely want to know more about the debate and writing as in for the magazine, newspaper, etc. At student-run newspapers. So tell us a little bit more about debate and what level is it at, and how do students prepare to make it to a university level debate? Even as a high schooler who's listening, what do you think could be good preparation tips for a student interested in debate?
Well, if your school has a debate team, then definitely join. It's great preparation. I definitely benefited from debating in high school when I got to college because it gives you a pretty solid foundation in the kind of activity. But to be honest, a lot of the best debaters on the team are people who started debating when they got to college and who had never touched debate before in high school. So there's like a tryout process and everything, but so many of the people who got rejected are people who were debating in high school, and so many of the people who made it were people who had never debated in high school. So it's definitely not a stressful process, I'd say. The tryout was like super chill, honestly. And I wouldn't overtly stress out about preparing for such a thing. It's just really a fun activity. And if you can debate in high school, great. If you enjoy it, then definitely do that. And also, it gives you an idea of whether or not you like debating. But I'd say it's just something to enjoy, to look forward to, rather than stress about.
And typically, about being part of the editorial sort of team, uh, the smartest kids are part of those newspapers and student-run organizations. Is that something you would say you're part of a group of very smart people?
Oh God, probably. I mean, honestly, I don't think I would be hard pressed to find anyone who would get to this kind of university and think that they're really clever. Like the kind of people that you meet at these universities, I think every single person, when they arrive at a place like Singapore, Columbia, will look around and ask themselves, like, how did I even get here? So, and I think that's a brilliant thing because the people around you are there are so many fascinating people with different skills, with different life experience and stuff. Like, it's amazing. So you become friends with people who are completely different from you or the same in completely amazing ways. It's really, really exciting. So I think it's impossible to get to college and think that you're the smartest one there, because trust me or not, you learn so much more from everyone around you.
Wonderful. So I'm going to switch gears and come to the closing section, which is more rapid fire. So if you were to reflect and think of a few authors, even political scientists, or anyone else who has inspired you to think in a new way or do things in a different way, who are the 2, 3, or whatever more people that you would want to talk about? Authors, professors, whoever.
Well, before getting to university, I think a lot of the people that got me interested in politics were people like Christopher Hitchens, people like Salman Rushdie, definitely. Shashi Tharoor was the guy who got me interested in politics, I think, as a topic. Yeah, these are my 3 people, I'd say.
Okay, great. Next question. If you were to tell our listeners and viewers your strengths, like pick 3 adjectives that describe your strengths, what would they be?
I'd say I'm organized, and just in the sense of like, I try and manage my time, not always successfully, but let's say I generally try and manage my time in a way that I'm able to put different stuff in. I suppose I'm like intellectually curious, just in the sense of I like learning about different things, different areas. Just go on, like, honestly, Wikipedia is your friend. Like most of my random general knowledge that I have is definitely from that. So definitely a good place to be, but don't cite it in your papers. And third, I guess, is just open to new experiences, because like the dual degree program is not your standard like 4 years in one place college experience. So it's very easy to look at it and kind of feel intimidated, because it's not exactly what you'd expect from a standard college experience. But if you're willing to take that risk and get into something that probably only a few people, or maybe not even anyone has done, then there's so much reward to come out of that. So I'd say that's the thing that I'm definitely most proud about, that I was able to take that risk to get into a program like this, and I think I've definitely been rewarded for that. It's an excellent program.
Finally, I think very often the high school students who are listening or viewing have this thing, okay, but tell us how you actually got in, right? And the whole that myth of, okay, Aditya Sharma made it to Columbia. What were you thinking when you were applying, and what do you think worked in your favor? Or if it's a mystery to you, even elaborate why it's that.
I mean, it was same. Obviously, it's an incredibly stressful process, and all you want to know is, how did you get in, and that kind of thing. Obviously, the basic things. I mean, try really hard to get good grades and a good SAT score. I mean, on my grades and SAT score were like good, but not amazing. I'm definitely not the class valedictorian or getting a 2400 on the SAT. So let's say, as long as they're just try our best to get really good grades and get a high SAT score. Extracurriculars is a big thing, because it's like, especially American colleges obviously are obsessed with a holistic kind of view of your applications. So they're not just going to look at your grades and your SAT; those are just the basics. They're also going to look at your various extracurricular activities, what volunteering you've done, or what school clubs you've been part of, or that kind of thing. So I definitely say that, don't just do things to tick the box, but find things that you enjoy. Otherwise, it'll be a misery. So in high school, I was debating and doing Model UN and stuff, because that was stuff I enjoyed, not because I want to check the box for the college applications. So yeah, these 3 things. And because American colleges are so obsessed with essays, because you have to write all kinds of philosophically oriented essays for your application forms usually. I really say, don't write the essay that you think that an American college would look at this and say, oh, this is a great person, we need to let them in. Don't resort to cliches about how you help save all the poor people of the world and that kind of thing. Really, I think it's far more beneficial to write about something that you're genuinely interested in. I wrote my Common App essay about books, like about my parents' bookshelf or something, and how that's meant so much to me, something like that. So write about something that you're interested in, because that's the only way it'll come out well enough for the person to be able to see, like, oh, this is a person who really cares about what they're writing about.